Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Aspiring Entrepreneur. I'm your host Hamza Chowdhury, and in this video I'd like to go over our daily stock recap. It's Tuesday, February 16th, and today was a really interesting day in the market. We were hitting all-time highs, and then we started finding support as we sold off onto Fridays, and that's the problem when you're reaching all-time highs. It's sort of like, what's next? And I really wasn't. I was a little disappointed. I felt like in the market, it was, a lot of the stocks that we talk about, and we'll talk about today, Apple, Tesla, Palantir, and AMD aren't trading at all-time highs, right? They've been discounted. Apple's 10%, Tesla's, 15%, Palantir's, over 30% from recent highs, and AMD as well is, about 5%. And so, when the market's trading all-time highs and you have not necessarily a whole lot of catalysts. I mean, we do still have the stimulus. I was just really hoping for more action. I just felt like for a 3-day weekend, the volume didn't seem like it was there. And so it was kind of an interesting day. And a lot of the things that we talked about yesterday, on the channel is some of the key levels. So these thin green lines represent DAP plays where we add to longer positions. And so coming into today, we identified a support at 134, and you can see that Apple essentially free falled from 136 all the way down to 132. And now you can see today, guess what? What do we say, right? When the support's broken, it becomes a resistance. And now you can see we've actually hit that 133.71 level twice, and we failed. And so I don't know. It's kind of an odd feeling. I've traded for many years. Today was just one of those days where it just felt like there was just not a lot of volume, and the market was just kind of, it was there, but it just seemed kind of dead, I guess, to me. I didn't do anything on Apple today. Tesla, same thing. I felt like, we had a really good buy here and maintained the level at $800. We've been trading sideways, and we had this flush on Friday. And so I felt like with this flush and this sort of gap up that we were going to start retracing back into this area. And the first thing I mentioned was 835. And we just failed. We held the level, we came in gapping up, and we just failed. And then we went right back to the levels on Friday. And I guess as a trader, I try to make sense of the market. And again, if you're watching this, maybe you're feeling the same thing. It just felt like what was the point of this move here if we were just going to trade flat from Friday? And what was the point of coming here and testing lows at 780 if you were just going to come back to 790 here? And so it just felt weird. You're gapping up and then you're just failing. And so it's kind of like, just sort of like, I don't want to call it like a false hope, but it's just confusing, I guess, as a trader in terms of where the market wants to go. It's making all-time highs, but our stocks are failing. And so, again, nothing exciting here. We're still holding the key levels, 795, 790. And so, again, I still expect a retracement and the first resistance of 835 to be broken. But like I said, it was kind of an odd day. Didn't see a whole lot of volume in Tesla at all, too. But we definitely saw a lot of selling pressure here, pretty much for the first, couple hours. For Palantir, it's a hard conversation to have for a lot of people. This was a stock that, we mentioned in yesterday's video that it was a solid buy in the low 30s, and we've identified several levels of support. So we DAP play here where we add small position at 31, and we mentioned we go extremely heavy at 27.50, and guess what we just had? We actually just flushed right towards closing right below 27.50, and we just closed right above it. So it's going to remain a very strong support. And I mentioned yesterday that in pre-market, I mentioned that I had bought in some longs going into close Friday. I was up 2.5 points right at open, so I actually sold a small position just to minimize my risk. One of the things I always talk about on this channel is you don't want to go full size when you are going into earnings. However, considering that Palantir was trading in the low 30s and we know the stock was trading as high as in the 40s, I felt like the downside risk was to this 27.50. And guess what, guys? This right here, this 15-minute candle, this right here freaks a lot of people out. This scares a lot of people. I wasn't once scared, right? Even though I wish I sold most of my position up here and I still did hold majority of it through this, and I added as we flushed, I wasn't worried. It wasn't once that it crossed my mind like, oh my gosh, the market's tanking. Why? Because that was part of my plan. And so when you enter a trade and you enter a trading day, have a plan in place. Because if X, Y, and Z happens, if X sort of leads to Y, and Y, you don't have that plan, then you know, something else will come of it, and most people will probably panic sell, and realizing that, wait a minute, this is following the plan, which is, we said, hey, if we're buying up here and the earnings come out, we risk potentially, right, a flush down to 2750, and that's what we got today. Okay, so this downside risk, you know, we completely sold off the whole day. We didn't cross the fast moving SMA at all today. And like I said, I was up a few points in the pre-market. It was nice. It was a nice size. And, you know, it's just one of those things where, you know, holding through earnings, you know, you can add down here. And let's just be honest. How many of us thought that Palantir was coming back to the 20s, in the mid 20s, 27? So this is a steal for a company that's quite shown that it can break out up in here into the mid 40s. And of course, we know that it had solid earnings, right? So if we look here and we look at the reason why it actually sort of lost, is look what happened. So the revenue itself, right, was 322 million compared to 229. So it had a massive 40+% growth. So this is a company that's growing, which is great. However, right, it was, I believe, some expense around 253 million in stock, that it had some expenses for stock compensation that it had to write off as a loss, and that made this thing sort of kind of catch everybody off by, you know, off guard, which was, well, wait a minute, how are we losing per share when we just got a bunch of new contracts? And so again, we have a ton of new contracts we signed in the fourth quarter. That's going to show up in the following quarters. I've always been long Palantir, and I think that today, you know, the 2750 came, and for you guys out here who missed all of this, this was a great buying day. This is a great buy zone, right? I mean, to get back into the heavy consolidated mid 20s to high 20s, and, you know, again, to get a consolidate and to get a next leg up, this is gonna be great. So look tomorrow for the 50-day to act as a resistance, and so we could potentially see the test again here of the 2750s, and then see what the 50-day, if it does act like a resistance line. I believe it is trading at currently 28.79, so let's just call it 29. And so if we can't pass 29 and get back up to, let's say, a 20-day, then we may see some more downside potential of Palantir. But like I said, having this massive flush from all the way from 39 down to 27, guys, that's, you know, $12. That's gonna, you know, again, a 30+% drop. So I expect this to trade sideways before, you know, we should definitely reclaim some of this. And, you know, looking at the last stock, it kind of follows the same thing, where we had an AMD, the triple top at 96, and then we flushed down below the 50, and the 50 started acting as resistance, and then we found a solid bottom here, which we identified at 85, and then we basically rebounded, and now we're trading over the 50. And so again, you know, with AMD as well, same thing. We traded below the SMA line. It completely, you know, it necessarily didn't gap up a whole lot, but it just failed. And so as we were expecting to sort of make this recovery back into 96, and I was thinking this week, it was just, like I said, an odd day that we just kind of sold off, and it just didn't feel organic, right? Like you're holding up levels, you gap up, and then you just fail, and you fail basically all the gains you've had for the last few days, and you come all the way back here. And so it was an odd day, and I'll probably just take some time to process it in my mind. Like I said, I haven't seen something like this in quite a while. And so I myself am just sort of, you know, trying to figure out like how to navigate this whole area, but just be careful with the risk management and where you want to set your stop losses. For AMD, I just have calls that I'm holding on to. I sold majority of it this day here, which I'm super happy about, right? You want to sell you know, your calls on any, you know, massive pushes. And so with this, you know, this here, I have 10 calls that I'm holding on to, and I'm just going to wait it out a little bit till we can get back up here, and I'll sell them to the push to 96, which I still expect to happen this week. But, you know, we only have 3 days, and, you know, let's just see kind of where the market goes. And so tomorrow, definitely the first I expect this to do is hit, you know, $93. And then if we could break that, then definitely let's try to get back up here in the 94. But it was just a really days, many times as I've said that this video. So with that said, guys, that's the recap for today. I hope you guys had an awesome trading day. SCKT was absolutely, you know, phenomenal. I was so busy with the other tickers I didn't get to trade it, but I was definitely watching it, and so was CCIV, Churchill with the potential Lucid Motors partnership. So some of you guys hopefully got some good longs on that and made a killing in those. I was just kind of sticking with sort of our typical large cap stocks for today. So with that said, guys, I'll look forward to talking to you tomorrow, and have a good night. Bye-bye.